Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I thought I had to do that. It's something I've been wanting to do. Anyhow, this is the goof. Being goofy. There you go. I wanted to have a little rant. I'm gonna make it as short as possible. I already did this rant once, and I completely deleted the video. It was too long. My nose was giving me issues at the time. I'm really bad with pollen, and whenever it starts getting when summer really starts to push through, pollen kicks up really bad for me. My nose, oh my god. And I'm sniffling through the thing, blowing my nose. It was horrible, and I just deleted it. Breathing better now, so let's try this again. I wanted to talk about Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and horror games in general. Where they are now, where they used to be, and what happened to them. Are we going to get more? Is Silent Hill gone? Are we going to get another Silent Hill? Eventually, I'm pretty sure we will eventually, but I'm hoping it's... I don't know. We'll start with Resident Evil, though. We're going to start with Resident Evil. It had humble beginnings, complete with horrible, horrible, unusual dialogue on the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. I love the series on up to certain installments, but I still remember playing Resident Evil 1 for the first time. Going into going to the door after getting inside. Everybody else says the weird stuff they're gonna. Here's a lockpick. It might be useful if you, a master of unlocking, take it with you. What? I would have said that completely different. I would have been like, here's a lockpick, Jill. I know you're good at lockpicking. Take it with you. That would have made a whole lot more sense. And yeah, I think they corrected it in the GameCube remake. The remake on the GameCube, which was really good. Anybody who says that horror and mature games don't work on Nintendo consoles, they're kind of right. Nintendo's got this image they can't shake, but there has been adult, not adult as in like Boom Chicka Wow Wow, but adult as in mature, as in dark stuff that's been on Nintendo consoles. It just never takes off because everybody sees Nintendo consoles as, yeah, that's not what this is about, though. Let me get back on topic. The dialogue was horrible. Then you go upstairs, then you go through that one hallway, the music gets really dark and deep. You're going through there, and it's weird. You get outside, and you're like, okay. You go through, you're on a balcony, you go around, and then there's, is it Foster? Is that his name? I'm not sure what his name was. I'd have to play it again, but he's been pecked to death. Oh my god. There was one instant I went out there, and I don't remember who I was playing as, but there was one instant I went out there, checked his body, he jerks up at you, and he starts coming at you, and you're like, holy crap! Holy crap! And then, that's how I was at the time. I was jumpy. I was like, that game had a good atmosphere. It had a good location. It worked in how it was made. Everything came together just right. They had clever things going on. The GameCube version, they were really clever. They had some really great ideas. Crimson Heads, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh, terrifying. Sorry, I'm always fiddling with stuff. Then we get to, we get to parts like that. It's really scary. Then you get down in the factory underground and whatnot. And, yeah, it was a great game though. Resident Evil 2 kind of felt like more of the same, only just a change in location. It had a different kind of creepy, a different kind of vibe, because you weren't in a mansion. You were in a city that almost seemed deserted, except for the crackling of zombies here and there. And they did pretty good with that. It had its fair share of scares. It had its weirdest. It had its weird characters. I think it was the chief of police. God, that guy. Oh my God. If I ever met a guy like that in real life, I would hesitate to put a bolt in his freaking head. You could tell there was something wrong with that dude. Anyhow, that installment introduced that one character, which later on they kind of reinvented him and made him more popular in Resident Evil 3. It takes place in the same city for the most part. Actually, Resident Evil 2 doesn't really take place in a city. I'm just realizing it. Not so much, no. It takes place throughout the, I'll get this in a second. It takes place in the police station. It takes place through the police station and some other little locations outside the police station and so forth. I would love to see a complete remake to that game. An actual, like, remake, like they did with Resident Evil 1. I would love to see that happen. It probably never will happen. Resident Evil 3 did some great stuff. This video is probably going to be long, I'm going to warn you. I don't want it to be very long, but it's probably going to end up long. Anyhow, Resident Evil 3, Nemesis. Nemesis, that was it, Nemesis. That character was that monster. He's what made that game. It wasn't the little lumbering zombies here and there. No, it was him. It was every time you walked through a door and all of a sudden you heard the music change and you knew, oh God, where the hell is he? Where is he? I know he's fixing to come out of somewhere. Oh God, you want to you tread carefully. You're just like, oh God, I know it's just, and you'll walk halfway through a specific little area and all of a sudden you'll hear him bust through a door. And he's like, and he's coming after you and stuff, and that's what made that game. That's what made it terrifying. Was him alone, not knowing when he was going to show up, not being able to get rid of him coming at you, shooting at you, just doing all the things that he did, just made that game. It's no wonder they subtitled it Nemesis. It was a great game on until the end when you finally defeat Nemesis. It's so weird. But then we move on to Resident Evil 4. Now, I know there were other little Resident Evil type games. There was like some sort of on-rail shooters and stuff like that. I'm talking about the main series, the ones that are more or less survival horror and nothing more. Sorry about that. Resident Evil 4, they still did good. They had clever ideas, and it was terrifying, especially when it got night and there was storming weather, and you get to the points where you're dealing with people's heads, busting, and here comes a tentacle out, and all this other weird, creepy stuff. I mean, at first you're like, okay, we're not dealing with zombies. Well, I'm not sure what we're dealing with, but we're not dealing with zombies. It was obviously, I mean, you could tell it was just a lot of Japanese influence at that point. It was like, okay, let's not do zombies, let's do tentacle creatures. It came out creepy, though, I'm telling you. They did well with it. It was scary. It had what it... I don't know, I can't remember what they're called, but you get to them much later, and they do this thing where their arms stretch out, and they grab you, and they either yank you or they pull themselves to you, and they... when you're in that facility at some point later on. Resident Evil 4 was brutally difficult. I mean, bad enough it was as scary as it was, but it was brutally difficult. But then on the other hand, as soon as we got to Resident Evil 5, it became too easy. It's like there's this balance that is just lacking. But Resident Evil 4 was still good. It was still a good horror game. A good, solid horror game. But now, Resident Evil 5, sorry, I know some of you probably loved it. Good for you. I thought it was garbage. It was Contra. It was like a 3D. It was running gun, plenty of ammo everywhere. It was as if they basically it was a situation of kind of like the old situation. You got chocolate in my peanut butter. No, only that tasted good. You got Call of Duty in my Resident Evil, and it tastes horrible. There was too much of that going on. It became more of a, not really so much of a survival horror as an action horror. An action horror game, which those exist. In movies, there's movies, but just the way they went about it was just like, it was all wrong. We get to Resident Evil Revelations, which I consider part of the main series. It doesn't have a number to it, but I do consider it part of the main series. And I consider it one of the best Resident Evils in a long time. They came up with some great stuff for that. It was terrifying. I played it on a 3DS. Can you imagine? Stuff popping out at you. Oh my God. Yeah, it was the 3DS had some awesome games, done really well in the beginning of its life and everything. Let us not forget Metal Gear Solid 3D, Snake Eater. That was pretty good. There was some good games that came to the 3DS, but yeah, that was the one that got me. That I was just like, wow, this thing's pretty capable, and it was a great game. It was so great they ported it to other consoles and stuff. It's on the Wii U. I'm going to get it for the Wii U. I haven't gotten it yet. Probably going to get it used from GameStop if they have it. I want to play through it again. This time I want to play through it on the Wii U. Big screen and everything, you know, that kind of thing. Anyhow, what was I saying? It was a great installment. It was a return to form. It didn't have zombies, no, but what it did have was, oh, they did good. Okay, Resident Evil 6. It had its good parts. Playing as Leon was the best parts to me. I mean, that felt like it should have felt. There were other parts I was just like, eh. I mean, overall, it's a playable game. It's not unplayable. It is fun. And a fun game is a fun game is a fun game. I always say that. So it was fun, but part of the fun for a survival horror game is the horror. And it was lacking. To me, it was lacking. It was something about an environment. They got it right with Leon. There was a lot of things they got right. But because they tried to satisfy a whole crowd of people, game companies are always trying to do this. They want to make something that encompasses all kinds of people. It doesn't work that way. And the only reason they want to do this is because they want to sell as many copies as possible. Forget the fact that they're okay, that's another rant. I'm sorry. I get off course. But it does aggravate me. Then we come to that's it. Resident Evil 6 was the last one, wasn't it? Yeah. We haven't had one since. I don't even know if there is another one in the works. Capcom being in the situation they're in. Yeah. Anyhow, that's about it for Resident Evil. I would like to see the series do better. I'm hoping depending on what happens to Capcom, I'm hoping the next installment of Resident Evil ends up in better hands. I hope a lot of IPs that Capcom had end up in better hands. And yeah. Okay, moving on to Silent Hill. I would have to say that's more terrifying than Resident Evil. I'm more terrified of really creepy stuff. I'm terrified of satanic crap. I'm terrified of rusty, dark places. Just, oh my god. Silent Hill. It's like they took Freddy Krueger, really good, elements from Jacob's Ladder, elements of Jacob's Ladder, elements of Freddy Krueger, and elements of Hellraiser. And they just put it in a pot and mixed it up and said, let's see what we get. What we got was terrifying. What we got was psychologically just unnerving. It was good. And it was terrifying. I can remember playing that game and it was one of those games that you didn't really feel like was a game. That's a whole nother topic about games and what makes a game, but Silent Hill, wow. I can just remember just the whole place getting rusted, the hooks hanging from the ceiling. There was just so many things about that. They did things right. They did things awesomely. They did things... The first Silent Hill, the second Silent Hill, the third Silent Hill, and the fourth Silent Hill were all great Silent Hills. Silent Hill Origins wasn't bad to me. It wasn't perfect either. Silent Hill Homecoming. It was pretty scary, but there was a lot of cheap scares. There was a lot they didn't quite get right. They got the atmosphere right, but I don't know. I liked it, but yeah, it could have been better. That's the way I looked at it. A fun game is a fun game. It's a fun game. And I thought that Silent Hill Homecoming was fun. Fun for what it was, scary for what it was. My issue was shoehorning in Red Pyramid, or Pyramid Head, or whatever you want to call it. Shoehorning him in there. Silent Hill, Silent Hill 1 it just really defined the horror genre. It did it best. Silent Hill 2 expanded on it, did better graphics, number one. It broke away from the story of the first one, though. And ever since then, everybody's been trying to duplicate that. But Silent Hill 2, it was, even though it was a little bit more of the same, that's fine. They went about it really well. I liked it. Silent Hill 3. I thought it was terrifying. A lot of people wanted to get away. I think the issue is anything that kind of explains the town, anything that explains it, ruins it to people, and that's why people want to break away from that. They don't want the town explained. They want it to be remaining a mystery, and I don't blame them. Here's my take on the town itself. It can be anywhere. Silent Hill 3 told you this. I mean, because you're not even in Silent Hill, but yet you're dealing with the foggy, otherworldly locations. You're dealing with that. But you're not even in Silent Hill yet. You do end up in Silent Hill at one point. You go there. But I feel like Silent Hill isn't really just that location. Silent Hill is something more. Silent Hill can be anywhere. Silent Hill can be right out your door. Right out your window. You can walk out and there's Silent Hill. If Silent Hill wants you. That's the thing about Silent Hill 2. I like the story. It was tragic. You know, he murdered his wife. He forgot about it. He thought she was still alive or something like that. He went there, and it's as if the town called to him, basically. It found its way to... It was teaching him a lesson, but that is a hell of a way to teach somebody a lesson and help them move on. That's a hell of a way to do it. But Silent Hill 3, I still liked it. But it proved that Silent Hill can be anywhere. There's been mornings I'd walk outside, you could barely see, it was foggy, and I would be so terrified to go out in it. Silent Hill had that effect on me. There was one day I went out and I saw somebody, it was my neighbor, an elderly neighbor out in the fog. She walks funny. She walks a little funny. You see where I'm going with this. Yeah. So I was terrified, started running. This video game had a huge impact on my psyche. Yeah, this series had just a huge impact on my psyche. But I remember running and them yelling, "What's wrong?" Me stopping, going, "Nothing." If I tried to explain it, you would laugh at me, which rightfully so. I mean, it is kind of silly, but then we get to Silent Hill 4. It's still terrifying. They still did a lot of things right. Team Silent, they did awesomely. I hate that Team Silent got... I don't know what happened there, but they no longer work on the series, and I miss them working on a series. They did it best. Origins was pretty good. It wasn't horrible. What else? Then we get to Downpour. Downpour was the first time in a long time they did really well. They didn't mess it up too much. The issue with Downpour was very simple. It was technical issues. It was hard to play when you were walking around. When you were walking around, and how do I say this? You're walking around. My brain always does this. ADD, people. ADD. And you're noticing this jitteriness. You're noticing issues with loading and stuff. Really takes you out of the experience. But other than that, they did really well. I do question there's always this unevenness of later installments in the series. They did it best in the early installments, and when it comes to fighting things and weapons, it's not quite done right. They did do pretty well. Oh, Silent Hill, on the Wii U, I can't remember what it was called. Wasn't a Silent Hill game. Wasn't a horrible game, but it wasn't Silent Hill. It was something completely different. They should have called it something else. They were banking. It was one of those things where you can't help but go, this feels like it was something else before it became Silent Hill. Kind of like with Castlevania Lords of Shadow. It should have just stayed Lords of Shadow. I don't know. It should have stayed Lords of Shadow. It shouldn't have been Castlevania. That's my opinion. I'm going to talk about that later. But Silent Hill on the Wii U, and I keep forgetting what the I think there was a subtitle, but it felt like it needed more. It wasn't real terrifying. They didn't have the gore factor. You got to have the gore. There's not much in the way of gameplay until you're running from those creatures, and then they don't even do anything too terrifying to you. They look like they snuggle you to the ground. Am I the only one who realizes that they're just trying to pull you down and snuggle you? And am I the only one that realizes that? I mean, by now I hope you all played it, because I'm fixing to. There's spoilers. Here's a spoiler for you. The dude's dead. You're playing a dead guy. How he's in Silent Hill is beyond me, but you are playing a dead guy. I can't help but feel like this girl's psyche brought him back from the dead, sort of. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. We never got a sequel that explained anything any further. But it just didn't feel like a Silent Hill game to me. But then, like I said, they got things right with Silent Hill Downpour. It's hard. You want to blame somebody. You want to blame somebody. That's why everybody blamed Tom Hewlett. They didn't know who to blame. They wanted to lash out at someone. Unfortunately, he became the whooping boy. I won't be too bad on him. I feel like he learned. He learned as he went, and he did better with Downpour. Tom Hewlett, you did pretty good with Downpour. I think if we took things learned from that experience and just did another Silent Hill. By the way, that's the other thing that bugged me about Silent Hill Downpour is they keep trying to mimic Silent Hill 2 because it was supposedly the best in the series. But they keep trying to. But here's the problem: in Silent Hill 2, no matter how you play through the game, it's always the same outcome. You always did what you did wrong. No matter what, the main character killed his wife. No matter what, he killed his wife. He killed him. He killed his wife. No matter what, doesn't matter. He still killed his wife. Silent Hill Downpour changes depending on how you play through it. You may have killed the guy. You may not have killed the guy. You didn't kill the guy. Yeah, and I'm sorry about this video being so long. The last one was long. There's a lot to talk about and cover. I'm not going to make multiple videos. This is going to be one long video. So sit tight. It'll be over before you know it. I know a lot of you probably aren't going to agree with some of the things I said. Alright, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm saying how I felt about it. How I feel about everything. But Silent Hill Downpour, I think, is the first time they got things right. Now, going back to Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, we see more of that kind of gameplay. We've seen that in the Silent Hill on Wii, and we've seen it in Outlast. It's that idea of being chased by something, by some force. Being chased. Outlast did it really well. You get under that bed and you're just kind of like looking around. And that thing. They did that well, but that's clearly ideas taken from earlier games. I just heard something in the other room. It sounded like it was in the other room. I don't know. I hate that. Don't you hate that? You hear something, you think somebody's around. Might be my dog outside. Oh God. Alright, this video is almost done. But horror games have come a long way, and I think most of the really genius ideas are indie ideas. Indie developers are doing the best, which is sad. The AAA companies, I mean, this goes back to another video I'm going to do. basically talking about what's happened to the industry. I've already did one already, but I'm going to do another one. Go a little more in depth. But the industry is the effect of this, and AAA games, horror games, have they dropped off the radar? They seem like they have. And I think if we I think if we had put Silent Hill or Resident Evil in the hands of the fans, we might get something better. Isn't that sad? The fans, when it comes to video games, the fans know better. It's gotten to that point. The fans know better. They know what they want to see out of a series. They want to know what they want to happen. That is sad. Alright. 25, almost 26 minutes. Wow. That has been enough for this. This has been the Goof. I might do a follow-up video. You never know what I feel like talking about, but I want to talk about this. I love horror games. I'm looking forward to... This is one more thing. I'm looking forward to that one horror game, and I can't even remember what it's called. The Evil Within. I'm still looking forward to it. I mean, I know there's been some skepticism, and there's been some doubts and whatnot. From what I've seen, I think it's going to terrify me, and I think I'm going to enjoy it. I think it's got them... It's almost like they took Silent Hill and Resident Evil, stuck it in a blender, hit frappe, and poured it into a baking sheet, stuck it in the oven for 350 degrees, pulled it out, and we got something very different. It feels like a cross between Silent Hill and Resident Evil, from what I've seen of video footage. Anyhow, this has been the Goof. Take care. Talk to you later.